I'm John Buchanan. Now, like you, I'm sure, a lot of the music that I write is reliant on beats. And if you are a drum programmer, whether you're working with slices of audio, whether you're working with pattern regions, whether you're drawing or playing in sequences of your own, we are all looking for ways to make our drum parts richer, fuller, more interesting. And of course, across the channel, we've looked at lots of techniques for doing that already. And this week, we're going to look at another, specifically with regard to layering snare and clap sounds. Ways of adding complexity and depth to your mix in subtle and not so subtle ways, specifically, in fact, using reverses. So firstly, what I'm going to do is to play you this track, and then we're going to get down to business. It can't only be me that finds snares like that a guilty pleasure. Okay, so what we've got, obviously, is a chopped up beat loop, which is appropriately called Retro 80s Beat 2. It was like Retro 80s Beat was too much, and what we had to do was to step back because there's only so much Retro 80s anyone can take. Okay, so what we're going to do, in fact, actually, I'm joking, of course. I think the 01 version of this beat loop, which of course is in the Apple Loops library, as always within these videos, go and find these sounds if you want to work with them. I think that contains a kick drum, whereas what I've done is to program my own using the pattern sequence, which is below, which is providing our kick. Okay, it is this monstrously 80s snare that I'm particularly interested in starting with when it comes to layering our beats. And what I mean by layering is, rather than just sticking with the existing hits where they fall from this beat loop, what I want to do is to just thicken things in a few interesting ways and to see where that takes us. Now, what I need, therefore, is the opportunity to have this sound play twice and to have a channel for it where a version of this sound can be made which is different from the original. And the simplest and best way to do that is to click on the original slice of audio, which is just going to be here. And what I'm going to do is to bounce it in place, something we've done a billion times on this channel already. But this time, unusually, I suppose, or less usually, rather than muting the original sound, I'm going to leave it alone. In other words, I want it to do exactly what it's doing at the moment, which is just providing this nice doofy snare. And what I'm going to do instead is to call the new sound that I'm going to bounce this down to snare drum reverse. Now, when I do that, a brand new track will be created with an identical region on the track underneath, and it's a slightly different color. And for now, that's going to be useful because we'll be able to identify the two different versions. In fact, in a rare move, oh, this is going to feel very strange, I'm going to make this drum sound green, even though we all know that drums are never green. But it's going to be a special effect in a minute, and so that's going to feel okay. And breathe. All right, so now that it's its own file in its own right, what I have a chance to do is to double click on it, make sure that I'm in file mode, not in track mode. So in track, I find that I'm not going to have access to the kind of edit functions that I want. But the moment I actually come to the audio file itself, what I then have a chance to do is to come to functions and to reverse it. And that's going to turn this around. Now, I'm going to preempt the inevitable questions which come in about this. Why don't I just reverse it up here in the reverse box? Well, you absolutely can do that. What I occasionally find is that if I don't permanently reverse this file, when I come back to projects later on, they display as forwards, even though the sound is playing backwards, and that irritates me. But you can do that if you want to, that's absolutely fine. What I'm then going to do is to manually move this into position so that these two files slightly overlap. Now, there is no precise exact science to lining up reverse samples with non-reverse samples, but generally speaking, what I find tends to work quite well is properly cutting off the attack portion. Now, ignore this green file for a moment. Let's look at the blue one. Remember, that's just the same file backwards. If I look at the waveform for this snare, it's pretty consistent, like it's been sort of smashed through a limiter for this first section of the waveform before the decay stage starts. And so I'm going to sort of call all of that transient. even though it's probably not. Nevertheless, it looks to me like that's the beginning of the sound. And it's not always the beginning of the sound that makes for the best reverses. So I'm going to ignore all of that in my reverse. I'm going to just make sure that that is the bit that I'm going to cut off. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to really make sure that my reverse is going to line up with this sound. So this is beat 2, but what I can see is that the kind of big doofy original snare is actually a little bit late. The waveform is more or less silent there, and it kind of starts a little bit later. So I'm going to move this along to, let's say, there-ish. And then what I'm going to do is to unmute this region. Using the playhead, I'm going to use Command and T, which is going to trim it at the playhead. And then I'm going to throw away the bit on the end. And what that's going to do is to leave me with a reverse. Now, it's highly likely that that is going to click because I've just chopped into a waveform. So the other thing I'm going to do is to add a tiny little fade out of just 2 milliseconds. And what we're now going to get is a reverse snare going into the original. I'm going to just put a loop around 1 bar of this so we can just focus in on this section. Okay, so here is bar 3 on repeat. Okay, and there's our reverse snare, and it's working, and it's nice, and it's really impactful. It's probably quite a lot to have as the very first hit, but having made this, of course, we can move this anywhere with our production. But for now, I'm going to leave it exactly where it is. Now, how long does this reverse really need to be in order to kind of layer up and add complexity and depth to this drum pattern? Well, of course, that's completely up to me. But at the moment, it definitely is pretty epic. We get a chance to really hear it arrive, and then the other snare takes over. It's probably too loud, all those sorts of things. But one thing that might be interesting would be to do the opposite of what we've got here, which is to make it really short. I'm going to leave the end where it is, but what I'm going to do is to get rid of quite a lot of the beginning, and we're going to just make a much shorter version. Now, what that means is that in addition to having to fade out the end, which we're already doing, I probably need to fade in the start, because again, I've now got active waveform playing from the very beginning, which probably means we'll hear it click. So I'm going to just grab the fade tool. I'm going to drag over the front of the file, and what we'll get is a nice fade in. That sounds like this. Okay, so still pretty epic. I'm going to turn off that fade in just to get rid of it for a moment. And I'm going to make this much, 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 much shorter so that it's just now a tiny little bit of file before the main snare takes over. Okay, now that's a totally different effect. It's still probably slightly too long, and we're going to keep experimenting with it. But what this is doing is just making the front of this drum a little bit more complex, if you like. It's just got a slightly different feel. Now, what I'm actually going to do is to leave that one as it is. But what I'm going to do is to copy it until it's preceding the next doofy snare. I keep saying doofy. I think you know what I mean. It sounds like a doof. Doof. There you are. I've done it now. Always singing my drum parts. And what I'm going to do here is to do a couple of things. Firstly, I'm going to change which bit of waveform I'm using. Now, what I mean by that is I've obviously got a perfect duplicate of exactly the same bit of this snare. And what I want to do is to use a different bit of the waveform. And the way that I'm going to do that is to grab this, hold down the control button and drag it that way. In other words, I'm going to move this later. What I'm then going to do is to adjust the endpoint so that again it comes back to the beginning roughly of where I think that file starts. And now what we've got is a subtle difference. I'm also going to make it shorter still. So I'm going to get rid of that fade in altogether. And this one is going to be really short. So remember, that's going to be a slightly quieter bit of the audio file, because I'm using an earlier section of the reverse. Remember, the volume is growing throughout, so therefore if I use an earlier section, it's going to be slightly quieter. And I've made it a different length, which means that it's a unique different bit of audio. And I could keep going. If I wanted every single snare on beats 2 and 4 to be different, again, I could take these into the next bar. So what I'm going to do is to drop these at the beginning of beat 2 for bar 4 now. And again, what I could do would be to make some adjustments. So again, I'm going to shift this one backwards a little bit. But rather than now manually dragging it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it using ticks. Okay, so this is the next thing. If I hover over this area here between the transport bar and the main page, I can drag down and get access to a bunch of other parameters. And one thing I have an opportunity to do is to change or at least acknowledge what I'm currently using as what's referred to as a tick value. Now what this means is that I can move things in ticks. If I hold down Option and I arrow to the right hand side or the left hand side, this region is going to move around in whichever unit I have specified here, which is currently 10 ticks, fractions of a 16th note. If I want to, I can take that down to a single tick, and what that means is that I can just kind of nudge this sound around until it's in the position where I want it to be. I'm going to set the fade out over that bit of waveform again, but this time I am going to have a much longer kind of ramp in, and I'm going to fade it, and I'm going to adjust the shape of that fade so that I've got a slightly more ramped up shape so that it's just coming in from a slightly different place. And then maybe for the fourth one, I won't have a layer at all, and I'll just let the doofy snare do its thing. Okay, so what does that mean in terms of just these drum parts? Well, let's have a listen. Quite interesting. In context? Okay, I really like that. Now what I'm going to do is also to isolate one of the claps, and that's happening right here. Here's one of the clap sounds like this by itself. There it is. And what I'm also going to do is to bounce that in place as well. Now, one thing I could do would be to actually bounce this with its effects included, so we get the reverb. I'm not going to do that, but you could do that. I'm going to call this clap, and this is also going to be reversed. And that's going to arrive also on its own track. So again, what I've got is a chance to do something similar here. I'm going to double click on it and to reverse it. And then, sorry, I need to do the reversing down here within this file window, functions and reverse. And then of course I get exactly the same effect as before, where I've got a reverse sound, which is going to give me the opportunity to add something just a little bit different here. And again, of course, now we can be quick because we know that we're not going to use the main sort of transient of the sound. What we want to do instead is to get rid of that section. I'm just going to just chop that there. And then what I've got a chance to do again, as before, is just to make sure that things are firstly overlapping a little bit. I'm going to just use my tick value again to kind of nudge this in. Maybe I'll make another chop there. And again, what I can do is to then choose the length of this that I want to use just to make our snares and our claps a little bit different. So I'm going to just do this quite quickly with these clap sounds. And so what I've got here is this sound, which is happening here on beat 3. Let's just solo all of the drums for a moment, including the kick, just so we can see exactly where the claps fall. That's nice, little smudgy moment that. Have a listen to that again. Okay, so I've got another clap there, of course, in the next bar. I'm going to just copy this one across, and then what I'm going to do is to make this one much longer, so we've got a kind of much more obvious reverse happening there. And again, I'm going to just nudge that to a slightly different place, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, you can just go in as much depth as you like here to do something similar, but I think this is quite an interesting effect. Okay, so what I'm definitely feeling about these doofy snares, keep saying that word because I'm enjoying it so much, is that it definitely feels like there's a bit of a gap between the reversed versions and then the hits. And again, we now know Option and right hand moves are going to move that sound along in ticks, which means I can just keep auditioning it until it feels like it's falling in the right place. Yeah, I like that better. Let's have a listen with everything else. Okay, one more thing to say. These don't have to be loud to be effective. What I'm going to do is to turn the claps down about, I don't know, 3 dB maybe. And I think the snares can come down more than that. I want this to just be a really subtle thing, which is sitting underneath everything else, so that we've got a chance just to add a little bit of complexity to each of these patterns. And what I'm going to do, just to demonstrate exactly what I mean, is we're going to have 2 bars with this happening. So in other words, bar 3 and bar 4, all of these are going to happen. I'm going to turn them off for 5 and 6, and then I'm going to copy them to 7 and 8, and then they'll be off for 9 and 10. And what that's going to mean is that we get the original drum part. Remember, the kick is coming from this Futura kit here, this pattern region, which is a Drum Machine Designer kit, and the whole of the rest of the beat loop is coming from this audio file, this Apple loop. And of course, these little chops that we've made are coming from the edits that we have put together. So we'll hear them, then they'll be off, then we'll hear them, then they'll be off. Now, of course, what I've done is to use the existing sounds within this mix to create our reversed versions of those sounds, but you could use any samples you like. And another really interesting way of layering up beats like this is to go and find a snare drum that is not the main snare drum and to use it as your little reversed piece. Similarly, you do the same thing with claps, different sounds, which of course are therefore going to add more layers, more complexity to your patterns. And you can do that with kick drums too, finding tiny little moments where kicks reverse, even for just a few frames, just to slightly complicate and make more unique each individual hit that you have within your tracks. So this kind of layering technique can be a really nice way of adding extra layers of depth to your projects.